Hey guys, so if you guys have been wondering why I haven't been uploading recently, well, it's because of this. And this. Yeah, I actually managed to download Miku into, just so I can songwrite, because this is one of those things that I've been wanting to do for a while now, to actually get to write a damn song, and it was all going well, I was just putting all the finishing touches last night when suddenly it crashed. Yeah, apparently it crashed because it said that all of the sounds I had stored in the library were unlicensed, which does get me to question, and that means that I shouldn't even have been able to use it in the first place, right? I don't know. I don't know. I had to get help online, but still, nothing. So yeah, basically 1 month worth of catching up on my music, worth of trying to learn how to use Vocaloid, because even though it says it's easy, it's really not. There's actually a lot of complexities going on, and just basically composing a goddamn original song, which, by the way, I was actually feeling proud about this for once. I almost never want to use the word proud because it usually, because pride is a sin. Let's face it, pride is a sin. I'm just gonna say that, and maybe that's why it suddenly shut down. Like, maybe God was telling you, you're being prideful, son. But you know what? Today I'm not here to complain about that. Today we are here to complain about the Oscars, specifically their Best Animated Feature category for the year 2017. Now, for those of you who don't know too much about the Best Animated Feature category in the Oscars, well, you probably know what the Oscars is already. It's basically an award show for films and a lot of the directors and actors as well. For those of you who don't know about the animated feature, which basically means that anything animated, where there's CGI or motion capture or traditional hand-drawn, basically they actually made a special category which was started, I think, if I'm not too sure, around 2001. And long story short, before that, the only animated feature that was ever animated features that were ever nominated for awards were, if I'm not mistaken, it was Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs. But that's only because back then it was insanely huge. And then it was Toy Story again because it was insanely huge. Beauty and the Beast was the only nominee for Best Film, before this category ever appeared. And then suddenly they decided, okay, looks like cartoons are really a thing. Let's actually make an award for them. And what was the first award to get that? Shrek. Already setting the bar high. And then the second award, I think, was given to Hayao Miyazaki's Spirited Away, which, it's a good film. Yay. Now, I'm going to get to why it won that. However, let's actually talk about this year's nominees. And I'm going to go from order of least likely to win to most likely to win. And you guys are probably going to see why in a moment. So, first nominee. So, in fifth place, what I think would be the fifth place, is the film Loving Vincent. Now, I'm going to go ahead and say it. I think this is the second time I've seen an animated biographical drama. The first one I've ever seen was Kazutachi no or The Wind Rises by Hayao Miyazaki. I'll get back to that in a moment. And I'll be honest, it's the fact that they actually had the cojones to get a bunch of people to actually paint every single frame. It's like, that's got to be some intense labor, It's like, you're practically asking someone to commit suicide in that. And what I would put in fourth place and most likely to win the Oscars, The Breadwinner. Now, I'll be honest, this is okay. The style is pretty much it's a pretty good style, I'll admit. However, the story is like, wow, this is some next level stuff. Like, this is the kind of stuff you see in anime normally. Okay, so basically, it's about a girl in Taliban-controlled Afghanistan. Yeah. Already we're getting somewhere. And whose father has been taken away by, who else? The Taliban. Wrongly accused. And already we're getting somewhere. And because there is no other patriarch in the family, she has to disguise herself as a boy in order to get a job. Already, we're getting somewhere. This is actually a pretty good film, and I'm actually interested in watching this movie. Okay, third most likely to win, Boss Baby. Okay, how'd you get it? Okay. Three things about that film. One, it's made by DreamWorks, which, again, if I mention Shrek, you pretty much know that place is just like, that's where potty humor just collects in there. Like, seriously. Like, it's just a load of it. That's pretty much all it is. Second off, the story itself, how do I explain this? We kind of already know where babies come from. How old do you think most of the audience is going to be? It's like 13. And even then, even if they were maybe younger, we live in an era where we have these. We can look up where babies come from, and assuming they have child lock, we'll get the answer in the most appropriate way possible. We know where babies come from, and they don't just come from a factory. All right. So and honestly, even in that context, the story doesn't make that much sense. And third off, I think this is the reason why I got nominated. Aside from it was a popular movie, it's because it was bashing on Trump. Now, don't get me wrong. I don't think Trump is that good of a president. But seriously, we're just beating a dead horse at this point. It's like I'm just tired of listening to the media just complain about Trump. Why not actually do something? And I don't mean like go out there and protest, go out there on Twitter and make a hashtag. I mean actually do something, And I'm gonna go ahead and say this. I think the only award show this year that is gonna be politics free is gonna be the Crunchyroll Anime Awards. Yeah, that's the only thing that's the only award show that I'm actually looking forward to. Okay. As second most likely to win, Ferdinand. And I'm going to go ahead and say this. I haven't seen the film yet, but I can definitely guarantee that the book is definitely better. Yeah, for those of you that don't know, this is actually based off of a children's novel. And I should know about this because I actually used to have an anthology full of children's stories. Like, seriously, Ferdinand was one of them. And I think another one in that list was also Cloudy with a Chance of Meatballs. Which I'll go ahead and say that, they actually did take it to a more interesting concept. After this, I think the next movie is going to be Make Way for Ducklings. Assuming they're getting all their ideas from the same book, alright? And most likely to win the Oscars this year, drum roll please, Coco by Disney and Pixar. I have no qualms with it. Honestly, I think it's a good film, and honestly, it does pay more respect to the Mexican culture in general than most films have done. I mean, think about it. They actually got the cojones to actually pay for royalties just to get in a Mexican soccer t-shirt, One of these, And come to think about it, how did I get this shirt on? I mean, I know Mexico's the only CONCACAF country that really has a chance at winning the World Cup this year, but seriously, it's like, if you seriously, America, we need to improve. It's starting with the soccer team, okay? But Coco honestly does pay a good respect to the Mexican culture in general. It's honestly pretty good, and it's. This is Disney and Pixar we're talking about. Now, I'll get to that in a moment. Now, I know from what you guys are probably going to be thinking, what about the anime? Alright? What about Your Name? A Silent Voice? In this corner of the world. We're talking about, it's like, it's not represented in this. And some of these are way better than the third option I told you, Boss Baby. Why isn't it included? We need more anime. What happened to the days when anime used to be part of the nominations list? Well, let me explain to you guys. And instead of, explaining in the sense as to just bashing instead of just bashing the Oscars for the sake of bashing, I'm actually gonna try to do something productive. I'm actually gonna try to at least come up with a reason why what all these movies are doing right, and maybe apply that into anime and see if we can get an animated feature film in there. Because honestly, some of the anime movies, like again, Silent Voice, Kimi no Na wa Your Name, In This Corner of the World, Girls in Panzer or Film. Seriously, that was a movie that came out this year. I thought it would have come out years ago. You know, I didn't think it was. Like, I actually went into the Crunchyroll site, and according to them, it was made in 2017. It does qualify, and I'm just like, really? I thought they would have made it like years ago or something. Anyways, never mind. Okay, so first thing that I want to point out, and this is just going more into the technical stuff. Some of the films here are actually have actually tried to push the barriers of what exactly they can do with animation. Now, I mean, first thing you will probably easily notice is Loving Vincent. I mean, they just went full ham on just how much, on just how many levels of trippy they can go. But then, of course, there's Coco, which, if you guys have not listened to any of the people that honestly talk about Disney and Pixar, like say Super Carlin Brothers, you will know that there are some very minute details that maybe you won't miss. Not just the Easter egg hunting, but even just details in, like, say, some of the character designs, and say some of the inspirations to some of the few elements that are added in there, or sometimes even just throwing in the new technical animations, new technology into their animation. These are guys that are constantly innovating from day one. So yeah, that's the reason why they're constantly winning these types of awards, these types of categories. And second off is just the types of stories just the types of stories they tell specifically. And this may sound a little bit pandery, but they're kind of children's stories, or stories more oriented towards children. Now, that's not to say that adults won't get a kick out of it, but it has to, at the very least, be of a G rating. And yeah, that's honestly something that I've noted that you'll probably see with all of the nominee winners. And I mean, don't get me wrong. I think some of these stories. I think the only oddball out here is probably Loving Vincent, because honestly, it's like, I don't know. It's like, it's a biography about Vincent Van Gogh, and don't get me wrong, I love me my Van Gogh. All right, Starry Night is a pretty amazing drawing, and honestly, even scientists go nuts for it. Scientists going nuts about art. That's pretty nuts, if you ask me. But. And probably the only other oddball would be Breadwinner, even though it does center around a young girl. So but again, all of the others pretty much feature are pretty much told from the perspective of a child or somewhere around there. Now I'll be honest, there are a couple of exceptions. For example, Up is almost entirely told from the perspective of an old man. Carl Fredricksen. However, it has managed to tell the story that both children and adults can understand. Also, The Incredibles has been told mostly from the perspective of Bob Parr, or Mr. Incredible, who again is an adult and actually going through a midlife crisis. Which, honestly, as a kid, I'm just like, I haven't gone through a midlife crisis. Obviously, I mean, I'm still young. And I'm still young, even though I'm going more through a quarter life crisis, which I don't know if that's a real thing or not. But yeah, it's they managed to. That's just. But yeah, the most recommended thing is that you tell a story from a child's perspective. And the third one, and this is the big one that gets you. You have to market heavily in the United States. Now, Breadwinner and Loving Vincent are probably the only exceptions, because these are movies that have gotten awards previously in the over a gradual period of time. They started out early, and they started out going out through smaller film awards, and then eventually the Oscars recognized them for their achievements through those awards. However, Boss Baby, Coco, and Ferdinand were all heavily promoted on TV, online, through billboards. In fact, if any, I think the reason why Coco will probably win is simply because it was over advertised. You know, I mean, you have rumors circulating that supposedly they wanted to get the copyright to the phrase Dia de los Muertos just so that anyone who is looking that up on Google will pretty much find Coco as the first thing and not the actual holiday, which would have gotten them into a lot of trouble, by the way. And not only that, but I actually went to Guitar Center, and for those of you who are wondering why, it was because I needed new strings for the guitar. Yeah, I play guitar, not professionally, just because I'm an amateur. But over there, they were actually selling guitars in reference to the film. Like they actually got a similar guitar to what it is. I think the company was Cordoba Guitars, and yeah, they actually partnered up with Pixar just so they can sell guitars that way. And I'm like, you guys are like really over promoting. You guys really want this movie to be essentially you guys really want this movie to be what it is to Dia de los Muertos, to what The Nightmare Before Christmas is to Halloween and Christmas. It's like you guys really want this to be that level of memorable, and I think you guys are honestly trying too hard. You know, I mean, this is Disney and Pixar. Those guys advertise themselves practically on their own. Again, same thing with DreamWorks, and same thing with Ferdinand. I mean, I'll be honest, I don't know which company is promoting Ferdinand, but yeah, again, you guys are pretty much trying too hard. I mean, for Ferdinand's case, I think the only reason why I would even consider watching this is only for two reasons. One, because as I mentioned before, I read the book as a child, but also because you got freaking John Cena. It's like the guy's a meme, all right, and one of the most enduring memes by that. I mean, just putting John Cena in a name, it's like, okay, you got John Cena. Let's actually go in there, just because John Cena. You know. Okay, can someone put in the John Cena blast in there? Can someone please get this video and edit that in, or I don't know. So yeah, it's like you guys are kind of trying a little bit too much with your advertisement, especially Disney. But yeah, that's really the thing that sells it home, because when you actually look up what some of the people that voted for the category, some of them are honestly not even paying attention. Like seriously, they don't really, even though it is an official category, some of them honestly don't give it the respect it deserves. And here's where I really go into the meta. Now, in the year before that, in 2016, for those of you who don't know, Big Hero 6 won. However, one of the voters, and this is anonymously, we don't know which voter who said it, but basically they mentioned that the Lego Movie was perhaps the biggest snuff in that film, as in it got shot down. It did not win. It did not even place as a nomination. However, it really should have been. And if you really think about it, it kind of does. It kind of should have been, nominated at the very least. I mean, come on, we're talking about Lego animation. They actually managed to make a good story that appeals to kids, and it was advertised pretty well. But for some reason, it just wasn't nominated because people thought of it as just a cheap sell of Legos. I mean, seriously, guys. I mean, Legos pretty much sell themselves. They're one of the most iconic toys. It's honestly, you don't need to oversell that. It sells themselves. But it's like they used pretty much innovative techniques on animating these the Lego pieces. Or I know they're actually CGI, but it's actually pretty believable. And it doesn't seem that hard, like something where you just buy a bunch of Legos and actually recreate something similar to that movie. In fact, they actually paid a bunch of homages to Lego movies that came before that, which is honestly pretty amazing for me. But again, and I think this is the part where we really solidify. So basically, even if you get all of the threes I mentioned, you're probably only going to get nominated, or maybe not even recognized. But I think there is one thing that will change whether or not an animated movie does get nominated, and that is this: if it gets promoted by someone within the committee. In other words, you have to have connections. Now let's actually go back to Spirited Away. Now, a lot of people are I'm pretty sure by now you guys know that that's like the one movie that made Hayao Miyazaki famous, because it is after that. However, guess who made him famous? John Lasseter. Now, if that name does not sound familiar, well, it probably should to Disney fans, because that guy was the head of Pixar during that time, and it was in a year where they honestly weren't really trying, or they didn't have something to sort of get them a placement to get them in placement as a category. They weren't really trying that year. So instead, John Lasseter, as a fan of anime himself, actually wanted to promote Miyazaki's work, and through Disney, managed to get a contract so that all of Studio Ghibli's films would be exported to America and shown in theaters. The last one being The Wind Rises, which I actually got to see, and I would say it is freaking amazing. Even the dub is. Well, there are certain parts of the dub where honestly, but I think that's only one part. But, it's a pretty good film, trust me. And especially for someone who likes World War II fighter planes. But yeah, long story short, you have to get some sort of connections. Find that hidden weeaboo within the Oscars. Now, here's the thing that I really want to drive home. Does getting nominated or even getting an award from the Oscars really matter? And from my perspective, honestly not. Now, here's why. Now, if you guys, maybe you guys don't remember or do remember, try looking it up online. Maybe I'll put in the link in the description. But there is a skit that Mark Wahlberg and Seth MacFarlane did in reference to their movie Ted. And one of the jokes that they spit out there was Ted. For those of you who haven't seen the movie, it features a trash-talking teddy bear, where he asked, where is the big post-Oscars orgy going to take place? And now everyone's kind of laughing, like, Ted has no idea that this does not exist. That's all a figment of his pot-induced imagination. However, if you really think about it, some of Seth MacFarlane's jokes, the way they drive home is that they secretly give a little bit of insight into Hollywood life. In fact, some of the quote-unquote sex scandals that have been coming out, a lot of people claim that Seth MacFarlane predicted that these would be big scandals, when in reality, he's just giving insider information to the general public as small little jokes that maybe don't really drive the nail home, but really do give an insight into what's really going on in Hollywood. And I think what that joke was trying to be was it was trying to tell people that Hollywood is essentially that. At least the Oscars is essentially that. A big orgy of actors, a big cock-kissing, pussy-licking, animal-smooching orgy. Which, come to think about it, I don't know why I just said that. I hope I don't get taken down just for saying that. But if you really think about it, that's really all the Oscars is. And considering how animation is a little bit, disconnected from the Oscars, and probably for a good reason, yeah, it doesn't really make yeah, it's probably not the good thing to get, it's probably best if you don't even try to get nominated. Now, don't get me wrong. If for any filmmakers in animation, do actually try to make a good film. Everyone wants to be good at what they are doing. I think that's something that everyone wants to do. Be good at what you want to do. However, do keep in mind that if you are planning or are doing this only to try to get recognition through the Oscars, it's probably best to just be recognized by your own merits, and by merits of your peers, and by the merits of the audience. That is all you need to care about. Do not care about the awards. Do not care about anything. Instead, worry more about your audience and yourself. Is this the story that you want to tell? Is it told in the way that you want to tell it? And are you going to be satisfied with the final product? Now let me tell you this, as someone who is songwriting, right now I am pretty much dying internally because I have put a lot of effort into a song only to get it destroyed at the last minute. Alright? I am dead inside right now. So, just saying, just know this and ask yourself, if I make something like this, will I be that level of dead inside if it actually does disappear like that? So that's pretty much it. That's the update. Maybe I'll make an anime video next week or next 2 weeks. Maybe I'll try to upload another video. Until then, that's pretty much all I've had to say. And let me know your thoughts in the comment section. What do you guys think about the Oscars? Is it really just a massive orgy of actors, directors, and producers, or is there some sort of merit, or will it ever have any sort of merit like it did a couple of years ago? Let me know what you guys think so in the comment section. Until then, this is me saying thank you for being smart. Sayonara.